And my apologies for not recording this sooner, but we will go ahead and continue. Those against the approval of the minutes for today, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay. And then those that wish to abstain from voting on approving the minutes from last week's meeting, please indicate. Okay, great. With that, the minutes are approved. We will go ahead and move on to the next section for public comment from GSA membership. So those that are general attendees are able to raise their hands and we can um, give them some time to speak to the floor. Do we have general membership that would like to address the GSA forum? Okay. Well, if not, then we will go ahead and move on to the next section, but there are no special presentations for today. So we will go ahead and move on to the appointments. Naomi, would you like to handle this?
Yeah, hey folks. So we've done a few more interviews. Unfortunately, I just don't have votes like saying they accept their appointments yet. So I think there's only one up there that we need to update. So we just need a vote to approve the appointments thus far by October 30th. And then I'll update the sheet. So I just need a motion to do that.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Those in favor of approving the appointments, please raise your hand. Lovely. All right. Thank you. Go ahead and lower your hands. All right. And those against approving the appointments, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay. Those that wish to abstain, please also indicate. Okay. With that, the appointments during this last meeting and this one have been approved. So we will go ahead and move on to the officer reports. We will first begin with the administrative representatives. Do we have any updates from Mike or Jessica or other ASUCLA people? Okay. All right. With no administrative updates, we will go ahead and move on to the president's report. So Naomi, I will let you go ahead and take the floor. Would you like me to continue sharing my screen, or would you like to share your own?
My screen is heinous, so I will let you keep continuing to share your
Great.
screen.
Sounds good. I'll go
Okay.
ahead and open your report.
Okay. Sounds good. Um, and then just go under, I guess, week 4.
Week 4. Do we have a tab? Oh, there it is.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So, hi everybody. I hope everyone is well. Like Jay said, I know it's week 5, so some of y'all had midterms this week. So I appreciate y'all for making the time to be here for tonight. Hopefully, it'll be a quick and short meeting. We don't have much to talk about, and then you can get back to celebrating your Halloween weekends. But yes, week 4, I just had a couple meetings. I sit on the Council of Presidents as the co-chair, and so Council of Presidents is just all the UC undergraduate and graduate student body presidents. And so we established our priorities for the year that I have listed on the document in case you want to take a look at those. We've had a couple of events with ASCCLA this week, especially with the special election soiree, where we did a little tabling session about Prop 50. So vote if you haven't. We've done appointment interviews, and you can continue to scroll down. And then we were mainly planning for this week our big events that we did. We had a couple of events throughout this week, Monday through Thursday, really. If you keep scrolling down, Jay, you scroll, cool, 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 keep going, keep going. Okay, Cool. And so you'll see on there, we did a comfort and carbs event with the Basic Needs Center at Strathmore. So we gave away muffins, juice, and protein shakes. We did another breakfast collaboration with the Graduate Student Resource Center. We had our Halloween grad bar yesterday night, so I am still tired. But it was an amazing event. We had about 600 grad and professional students there. Really fun, and hope to do more of those. And then today we gave away free Monster Energy drinks to recharge. And so, yeah, our discretionary fund application has been open. We made an Instagram post about it and put it into our newsletter this week. So please tell any clubs that you know of to apply. And then we also have an dialogue conversation with Dean Brian Kite, the Dean for Graduate Education. That's going to be November 6th from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. In addition, I do want to remind folks to please fill out the RSVP for the Chancellor's fireside chat. Last I heard from my friend that's being the administrator that's controlling the RSVP form, only 8 people had RSVP'd. And so they need to put together the briefing to give to the Chancellor about each of us. So the RCP asked for a headshot, a little bit about you. And so we do need to get that as soon as possible. Um, there is up to for the in the chat, they can apply up to 3 times per quarter. That's on the guidelines that we approved last meeting. And so please fill out that Chancellor RCP right now, if you can, to get that into folks so they can prepare that briefing to the Chancellor. Unfortunately, we can't just have people show up to the can't just have folks show up to the actual event with the fireside chat. Um, and then Okay, I don't have that off the top of my head, so I would just open up the guidelines from last meeting. But I believe it's up to 3,000. So I'll just have to take a look. But there's different categories and there's maxes for each of those. So that's all in the guidelines. And so yeah, so please fill out that RCP and then we will get that done. Oh, okay. Sorry. I heard from them this morning that we only had 8 RCPs, so I will double check right now and then I'll get back to you, Nelly. Thank you. And that's what I have.
All right, many thanks, Naomi. We'll go ahead and continue on with the next report. I believe it's mine. You'll have to bear with me. My screen is a little slow. All right, yes. So it is my report. So I'll go ahead and pull it up. It is very, very short this week. So I will, yeah, you can open it if you'd like, but I'll be sharing my screen as well. So um, throughout the quarter, I have mentioned that we have been working on proposing changes to the GSA codes and then eventually the Constitution by general election. But GSA forum, those can pass at any time. But since we're doing quite a substantial change and update to the codes, which hadn't been updated since 2020, yeah, it's been a process, and so we have not had them prepared as of yet today, but um, because of the way the codes are structured, we are only able to have 3 regular meetings with the forum, but we are able to call a special meeting for the forum, and so that will be our fourth meeting and final meeting for the quarter. So by the process, and you can refer to this in the codes as well, I will be calling that special forum meeting with one of the other officers on the cabinet no earlier than 7 academic days prior to the meeting date, which is on November 13th. And that agenda will be sent out, as well when I declare that special forum meeting. So please make sure you submit everything as in as timely a manner as possible, just so that we can make sure that we get everything taken care of on that agenda, because only those things that are included in the agenda will be addressed. We will not be able to make changes beyond that. In addition to that, we will tentatively have LA come and present. They've reached out to me and have provided materials. So, assuming there are no significant scheduling changes, they should be present for that. So, be on the lookout for some extra materials on the agendas. You'll see that in the document section on next agenda document that I send to you all. And with that, are there any questions or concerns? Okay. Well, with that, I end my report. Many thanks to you all for your patience. Oh, agenda question. Are those email out before each meeting? Yes. apologize, I don't see your name in the chat. The agendas I email out to all the delegates and alternates, as well as the cabinet and then other administrative roles that participate in the GSA forum. If you haven't been receiving those, please go ahead and reach out to me by email, and I'll make sure that your information is correctly updated in the contact list. Perfect, thank you. All right. Thank you for the questions. And so we'll go ahead and move on. We'll have Satara take the floor. And Satara, if you don't mind, I'm happy to open up your document and just keep sharing the same screen.
Yes, please.
Okay. Bear with me one moment. All right.
So mine is also fairly short. I'm going to be having an upcoming event. So this is a collaboration with the GSRC and it's a study jam. So essentially, it's just a space for students to come together and just since it'll be the week before finals, it'll just be for a space for students to come together and just study and there'll be refreshments and snacks. So there's more details about the timing and the dates since I'm still discussing that with the GSRC, but tentatively it should be the week before finals and then around 3 to 5 p.m. And then this is something I plan to do quarterly. And then I'm also working on compiling a Google form for students. So for the like professor lunch series. So basically a form so they can nominate a professor that they think has made a lot of impact on students, like et cetera, things like that. So that's like very much bare bones. So still working on feasibility for that. But yeah, that's all the updates I had. If anyone has any questions. No? Okay, I'll hand it back to Jay.
All right. Thank you very much, Satara. We'll go ahead and returning back to the agenda, we have Jack Fung's report as the VP of External Affairs. And I can go ahead and open up that report as well if you'd like.
Yes, please. Thank you, Jay.
All right.
If you can click fall, like on the tab, it will show up and then scroll down to today's meeting. Oh, I should have like reversed the order, but
Yes.
okay, cool. So, all right, thank you everybody for making the time to meet at today's meeting. So, a few updates since last time I presented. On October 18, I joined the UC-GPC board meeting at Riverside in person as UCLA GSA delegate to UC-GPC. We discussed a range of issues, but I would like to bring particularly a few items just to our attention. Currently, the UC Office of President, there are two policies, for review. They want to gather student feedback and input on these two topics, sustainable practices and the information IT accessibility. So you can take a look at at these documents, and if you're interested in learning more, you can write any questions or concerns to these staffers from UCOP. And we also discussed about APM 410 policy that governs TA GSR student academic appointments. We realize there's a appointment cap for this position for 4 years and maximum of 6 years. So, and there's a need for degree specific standards. So if you and or your peers are experiencing some challenges with, particular issues for your TAGSR positions in terms of like how many quarters can you serve, or if you wish you could serve more quarters than you're supposed to, for free to contact me so I can, elevate some of these issues to the UCLA and the UCOP stakeholders. Second item I want to address is I received a formal response from the UCLA Associate Vice Chancellor for campus community safety regarding their what I call it Black Faith August town hall meeting as part of the state law requirement for UCLA Police Department military equipment request to the UC Regents, which was approved at the September UC Regents meeting. The hyperlink will take you to the report they submitted to the Regents. You can read it if you like to. So according to the ABC, UCLA acknowledged their insufficient effort to publicize the town hall in spite of the state law requirement, and they also provided some clarification context on these military equipment, but they're also open to discussing further with student leaders and students in general upon request. So recently on October 20, I joined Mayor Karen Bass press conference on immigration custom enforcement at LA City Hall on behalf of GSA, alongside Congressman Robert Garcia, the leading Democrat on the Oversight Committee in the House, and the community advocates across the regions on immigration protection. So you can take a look at the press release statement from the mayor. That I put the hyperlink there. So basically, the press conference called for congressional investigation into all these unlawful, unconstitutional abduction, detainment, alleged abuse of U.S. citizens and immigrants by federal agents without judicial warrant. And I also posted some of the highlights and my personal reflections on my participation in this event. On October 22nd, I attended the UCGBC and FGR Federal Government Relations team from UC Office of President biweekly briefing meeting. So we talk about, the main topics of discussions during that meeting was terminated funding to the HSI and AANAPISI institutions. UCLA is not yet becoming HSI yet, but I would just like to bring these to attention. And there's actually an upcoming UCGPC FGR graduate student opportunity, which is we call it's a program that would support each campus student advocate to support the communication of UC federal advocacy campaigns, particularly for Stand Up for UC and Speak Up for Science campaigns. And it will be a paid temporary 4 hours per week campus space. You will be working closely, collaboratively with my office in the GSA to develop materials on social media, do outreach events on campus for this period of time, January 20 to March 13 next year. So the application will be sent out on UCGBC Instagram and a blog post soon, and I will also share that on my Instagram account. So just if you're interested or if you know anyone else interested, let them know. So my office hosted a Proposition 50 Civic Forum event last week, October 22nd. It was a great success. Students were genuinely excited and appreciated the information we presented in terms of the pros and cons of the Proposition 50. It was a nonpartisan informational educational event, really trying to encourage students to examine issue the ballot critically and encouraging them to participate in this election, and there were 12 graduate students attended. So today I had a meeting with UC Student Regent Sonia Brooks, and we talked about a few developing initiatives in partnership with my office. So one is Broom Fresh. We want to address some of the current gaps in food insecurity on UCLA campus, especially for some of the most vulnerable student populations, often not covered by CalFresh, which is currently at risk, being being gone because the federal government shut down. And we also talk about another initiative, suicide prevention campaign. We want to raise awareness and promote resources for graduate students, mental health awareness, etc. And the other thing very important is UC graduate tuition stability plan and federal loan cuts. All right, from the HR1 that was signed into law by the President of the United States over this past summer. And there's some real implications for our current and prospective grad students. And on this issue, there's the UC Regents meeting. It's going to happen in November, November 18 to 20. So UCLA grad students, y'all are highly encouraged to speak on this issue directly to the regents. And if you need some help and materials, information, etc., please do not hesitate to reach out to my office. I will be there. So just let me know. And I want to highlight a few more resources. The mayor of LA, Karen Bass, will be hosting a virtual town hall to discuss immigration rights and some of the resources. So save the date if you're interested. And there's an RSVP link. Will be on Zoom. And another two things addressing food insecurity across Los Angeles region in response to the anticipated suspension of SNAP benefits beginning in November because of the ongoing federal government shutdown. I put the flyers and the list of food banks there in the Google Drive. You can take a look at it. Feel free to share with your students and peers and in your organization. And last thing I want to quickly mention is the UCGBC, we hold a monthly board meeting, a hybrid meeting. Next one is at UCLA. Actually, my office is hosting it. So the other UC campus EVP, an executive board of UCGBC will convene at UCLA campus. We already got the room reservation. Shout out to my legislative director who's supporting this effort. So public comments on any topics are highly encouraged. Usually it's the first 10 to 20 minutes of the meeting. That's usually where other campus EVP and myself and also UCGPC leadership can get a better sense of what's happening on the ground, trying to get a better sense of the student needs and concerns. So I will share the agenda in advance of the meeting in this report. So if you're interested, just check back the report soon. So that's all for now. Thank you. And thanks, Jay.
Thank you very much, Jack. Appreciate it. All right, let's return back to the agenda. So with that, all the officer reports have concluded for this week's forum. All right. Sorry, the screen is slow, but yeah, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next section of the agenda. There is no old business, so we move on. And so we have some new business, and Naomi will take the floor here.
And so it should be relatively quick votes. But one of the projects I've been working on since I'm starting in the role is trying to get the graduate lounge space renovated. The graduate lounge space in Kirkhoff, it's room 316 if you've never been there before, but it is a space that we're trying to be more welcoming for grad students to know that you have an area in Kirkhoff, which is part of our student union, right? And we want to make it more of like a meeting space, some place where students can chill, charge their laptops, do work, have like presentations and other things. And so, in modernizing that space a little bit, it's going to cost some money. And so, one of the things we did over the summer when we were approving our budget is we were looking at different directors, different spaces of things that we weren't using anymore. And so, one of the spaces that we weren't using is Kirkhoff 160, which is another space that is basically held by GSA. It was previously used as part of our sustainability director. However, in my role, I've taken on kind of those positions and working with the UCLA wide sustainability committee to continue the work there. And so, basically with ASCCLA, well, us being part of ASCCLA, but some of the executives of ASCCLA, we've talked about in exchange for modernizing the space, we would relinquish Kirkhoff Hall 160, the office space we weren't using anymore. And so basically what we need is a motion that I will basically place into the chat that needs to be approved by forum in order to relinquish that space to move forward with the modernization of our Kirkhoff Lounge 316. And so I'll go ahead and put that in the chat to be approved so that we can continue with the space. Before we had that motion, I just wanted to open the floor for any questions or concerns. Okay.
All right, so if there are no questions or concerns, do we have the motion as is specified in the chat that Naomi provided? We have a question.
Yeah, so we would be losing Kirkhoff Hall 160. That would be permanent. But we do have other office spaces that a person, if we did need space in the future, that they would be able to use. Hence, in modernizing the lounge, there will be a lot of different spaces that folks can use.
And I actually have a question.
Mhm.
Currently, Kirchhoff 138 is being occupied by the student interest groups. Do we, I guess, in terms of space, that does seem to be a concern for me, given that um, the student interest groups are currently using the space.
So what we have thought of thus far is it would be the back room for the Kirkhoff 138, and so basically which is right now used as storage. And so we would create storage in 138 as well in the main room. so that we wouldn't lose the main lounge for the student interest board.
I see. Okay. I would, let's see, one second. There is something else I would like to bring up about this, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, I'm just checking. All right. So yeah, given the student, well, all the student interest groups are not currently present at the meeting. I would suggest perhaps bringing this item to discussion with the student interest groups to see their input, and then perhaps discussing this at a future meeting.
So you need a formal motion to table.
Yes. So and I guess I can do that. And so I
I don't think you can do that. You're not voting.
I'm not voting. I can't vote, but I still am allowed to make motions, I believe.
Okay.
Is if that's correct, according to Jessica or Jonathan for confirmation.
I believe you can, but I will look it up really quick.
Yeah, I was like,
Okay.
I don't know. So yeah.
Yes, please bear with us
I
for a
can
moment.
motion to push or to table this conversation until we have all the other groups present.
Okay. So we have. So yes, do we have a motion? I said you said you can, but would you like to make that motion?
Yes, I'd like to motion to table this until we have all interest groups here.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Motion and seconded. Then those in favor of tabling the motion for a future meeting, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. And then those against tabling the motion, please indicate. Okay, thank you. Those that wish to abstain? So with that, the motion has been tabled. This will be then addressed at the next forum meeting. And when I call that special forum, this will be on the agenda and we will address it then. Okay,
And
so yes,
then
I'll let you take
go
care
ahead.
of the second action, please.
Okay, cool. And so yes, we'll come back with the next meeting with the room spaces. However, I will say as we'll have, oh yeah, that's what I thought.
Ah,
Thank you,
okay.
Jessica. And so as we'll move forward, even if we don't have all of the student advisory boards present, we will need to come to a decision soon. And when we did the vote for the student advisory councils, it was under the basically that we had two at the time, but as we continue to increase last meeting to three and then increase to four, etc., the space is only so large, right? And so that's part of why we're trying to modernize the lounge so that people can also go into the lounge and do meetings and host things for graduate students. And so we're on a quick deadline because we're trying to start the renovation in spring quarter. And we low-key needed this today, but we can definitely push the next meeting. So just want to put that forward. Um, so another thing that came up for the second point, the Anderson carryover, as mentioned last time, Anderson and the representatives from the previous year did fill out the requisition to have their carryover approved into their budget for this year. However, due to some of the issues that we had with our finance director at the time, that requisition got basically lost in translation between our ASUCL accounting. Hence why we've done some updating this year with how now we have the DocuSign process. That's been pretty good so far. That's been pretty streamlined and working. And so what was mentioned in our last meeting is that we were trying to figure out a way for Anderson to use those funds from their carryover from last year. And so basically, after talking to some of the advisors, what we did determine that would be possible with a forum vote is that we could approve the funds from last year that was in the carryover by using the GSA reserve funds. However, with that, we only opened up this kind of precedent because of the fact that basically we dropped the ball with our having our finance director not being able to sign the requisition, even though they had put it forward. Anderson delegates did all that they needed to do, and then on our end, being GSA, we didn't come through with the signature to have their carryover basically go into their budget for this year. Um, with if we were to approve this vote of using the GSA reserve funds, I do want to be clear that we don't want to make this a practice because reserve funds are for emergency budget use. And so I really don't want to set a precedent for like councils wanting to access their funds after a physical close, as these student fees are meant to be spent in the year that they are collected from students. However, due to this one case of Anderson basically doing the process how they were supposed to, but us falling short on our end with GSA, I did want to try and make this right. And so, what we would need for this one would be a motion to approve. I'm grabbing the amount right now, so sorry. Um, to use GSA reserve funds. I might be mistaken on this language, so I'll have Jessica check it as well. Um, So, Jessica, sorry, I'm trying to phrase this, but to use GSA reserve funds of 28,085.65 cents to transfer to Anderson, and then would it need to also say in the motion that they would need to, I'm trying to get at what you have in here
Yeah,
that, yeah,
yeah. So you could make a motion to allocate the 28K to management council from GSA reserve funds. Um, and then that's all the motion needs to be. But
okay,
the idea is that when we get to carry over, those funds do need to be replenished to the reserve. So that would come out of the carryover directly. And then the remaining carryover would be dispersed to the rest of the councils. So theoretically, management wouldn't be getting any additional funding when we get to carry over. But again, like not having carryover available right now, not knowing what the full scope of those funds are. I don't have any further information on that, but the funds do need to be replenished, so that's just something to keep in mind.
okay. Any questions, concerns about that before we do a motion? How much is currently in GSA reserve funds? Let's see if I have that information.
Let me see if I can have Beverly look it up really quick, and I can let you know. But generally, when you have carryover, I believe you put 5% annually into your reserve funds. So just as a general, it's not a lot of money, but it's enough to cover if there were to be any kind of like budget crisis where GSA doesn't have the funds to cover something.
Right.
Just while you're grabbing those numbers, Nam, is it okay if I say a few words from Anderson?
Yeah, that's something fine by me.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is JP Canestraro. I'm the executive vice president of the Anderson Student Association. And thank you, Naomi, for bringing this to the agenda and explaining very thoroughly the situation. I just wanted to shed some light on really how important these funds are to our student body. We, as the Anderson Student Association, we manage a budget that goes directly into providing programming for all of our students at Anderson. Not just the MBA students, we have a lot of programs, and we are the second or third largest graduate program on campus. The majority of those funds go to servicing our professional clubs and our identity clubs. And the purpose of those two clubs is to provide programming for our students, one, to help them get jobs. The professional clubs are highly responsible for helping our students get jobs. And our identity clubs are an incredibly important piece of our community. They're a cultural pillar of providing a space for our many students who come from all over the world to be at Anderson. And we did budget for these funds going into the year, thinking that they would end up with us. Kind of as Naomi mentioned, having gone through all the required steps. And so to lose those funds on what is already a very tight year for everyone, as budgets have been cut across the board, has provided a lot of not only stress and anxiety amongst our student body, but truly direct cancellation or risk of cancellation, I should say, of critical programming, specifically to support our students getting jobs and to support community and cultural spaces for our students. And the last thing I'll say is that we are very committed to hosting programming that is across multiple programs. We had a tailgate with the law school earlier this year, and that's something that we continue to want to do. And so these funds will also be utilized for cross school programming for multiple graduate programs, as we like to be very collaborative in how we host events and how we program as a student body at Anderson. So I appreciate you giving me this time to speak. I just really wanted to share truly how important these funds are and how much of a challenge it's been kind of thinking through what the year might look like without them. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So the reserve funds are for GSA emergencies. And so they are not replenished, but they grow basically every year by giving 5% of the council kind of budget to those funds, if I'm explaining correctly. Is there some pooled carryover or some parts taken from every council? So carryover every year, once we get to that point in the year, is basically divided among the councils by the population sizes.
Uh, Sorry, is it okay if I like just speak?
Yes, the
Yeah,
floor
okay,
is
cool.
yours.
I think what I'm asking is like I think Jessica was saying that like Anderson theoretically like wouldn't get any carryover or something because you have to replenish the reserve funds from the carryover. So I guess what I'm asking is like, does that also mean that like if we need to like replenish more than let's say what Anderson is getting from carryover, would that come from like other councils' carryover funds? I don't know if this is making sense.
I think I'm following. So if carryover for some reason is less than anticipated, then yes, those funds would have to be the 28,000 would have to be replenished, and that would come from other folks.
Okay, thank you.
And if I can
So
also, can
yeah.
I also add some quick context too? So your contingency reserves, that amount we determine based on the overall carryover. So it is also coming from any central office carryover as well. So it's not just on the councils to fund that. It comes up, it basically comes from the overall GSA unspent funds from the prior year. And you always put in 5% so that it slowly builds over time. And in the event that there was some huge budget deficit one year, where basically like when we give you a budget at the beginning of the year, we're using projected enrollment figures. So if, for example, actual enrollment was significantly lower than what we predicted, so your actual income is going to be less money than we've allowed you to budget. That would be an instance where we would allocate some of those reserve funds to cover that difference. So yeah, I don't have the total number available. I don't believe Beverly's online anymore, so I can double check that number tomorrow. But last year during the carryover process, we did allocate $55,000 into that pool. So yeah, I mean, there definitely is the funds to cover it. And essentially, this is kind of like would kind of like be giving an advance on the carryover funds for management council. So that's kind of like the idea where it has to be replenished. And since basically management council is getting access to those funds earlier than carryovers coming forward, when we get to the point of determining what carryover is available, like they would have theoretically spent any funds that would have been coming into that council. So hopefully that kind of also clarifies, like the majority of it will be replenished because there won't be additional funds coming into management council because they're essentially taking it now instead of waiting for carryover to come forward.
And then Jessica, do you have any examples where reserve funds have been used in the past? I don't
Um,
off the top of my head.
Well, the one example that I have is actually from our undergraduate student association. I'm not sure in the case of GSA, but so one example is they have Jazz Reggae Fest, which is a very popular program that they hold every year. And one year they the costs of holding that event were way more than they had available in their budget. So essentially, they owed money on that program, but didn't have the funds to cover it out of their current budget. So USAC had to make an allocation out of their contingency reserves to cover the deficit of that event. Um, and this was like a number of years ago. So they basically had to put some additional parameters on that event and use their ticket sales as their base budget. But that's just like one example that I can think of off the top of my head. It is rare that you're in a situation where you need to tap into your contingency reserve funds because we do like the budgeting process of using the estimated enrollment numbers and the current fee rates, like it's pretty spot on. If it's off, it's off not by a lot, and usually you have a little bit more income. And then just given that it's pretty hard to spend down to the dollar all of your current year funds. There's always carryover available. So that's why it would really have to be something catastrophic that would happen, that would cause an issue where we would have to like really dip in and use all of those funds, like if there was a significant dip in enrollment, or if there was something that happens, and you have an event that costs more money than you had available, and now you have a past due bill and it's an obligation of GSA to pay it. That would be a situation where you would say, okay, we need to use these reserve funds to cover the cost of this bill.
Thank you, Jessica. And there's another budget question in the chat if you from Samantha.
So I'm not sure I understand the question fully. Yeah. Could you maybe expand on?
And you're welcome to unmute if possible.
Yeah, so I might just not understand the logistics of what is going on, and I'm trying to understand it. But like, so there is money at the end of the fiscal year that can. Are you using like? Wait, what does not requisitioned mean? I'm sorry. I feel like I
Yeah. I mean, I can kind of give like another general like situational overview of essentially what we're discussing right now. So last year when carryover was allocated, it went into every council's account, right? In order to access that money, you need to fill out a rec form and submit it to SGA to get access to that money. So management council submit a rec form to process that check to be sent to Anderson. But that requisition form did not go through, and then we closed the fiscal year. Once we close, we can't go back and pay out open requisitions because the fiscal year has closed and we have essentially closed that budget. So that money is no longer available and now it's in audit, right? So when we go into audit, we can't do anything to the prior year budget until all of those numbers are accounted for, audited, and then we get a report back from the auditor saying, okay, like your books are clean, go ahead and proceed. And then at that point, we bring that money forward to carryover. So essentially, what happened was this was last year's carryover money that was made available, but there was an issue in the processing of the form to cut that check. So where the check would have been cut, either last year or we would have accrued it, which would have meant that we could have still honored that requisition now and paid it out now. We did not accrue it. So that's why that money is not available and won't be available again until carryover comes to GSA this year, which is not going to be until winter quarter. So essentially the situation is management council needs access to that money now, but they will not have access to it until winter quarter. So the decision for GSA Forum is, do you want to give them access to those funds now by making an allocation out of your contingency reserve with the expectation that that money will be put back into the reserve so that you still maintain that balance to support the overall function of GSA. And then when we do get to carryover and we're looking at those numbers, we'll make that determination and we'll take that into consideration when we're building out that report to give to you all to vote on. So essentially, it's just, funds that were available last year that, again, like if you don't spend them in one year, they come the next year as carryover. So everything that wasn't spent last year is going to come back this year as carryover. So you're basically just making early access available to those funds now through this motion and vote, if that helps frame the situation.
Yes, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Do we have further questions or concerns?
Correct, Gabby. And hence why we've updated the process now so that things like this wouldn't happen again. So we're working on it, I promise.
Okay. So let's see if there are no further questions or concerns, I believe then we would need some sort of motion, correct? I'm not sure what the motion would be, just allowing the carryover to be processed. Let's see,
The motion would
allocates.
be what I put into the chat.
Okay, great. All right. So if there are no further questions or concerns, do we have a motion to allocate to the management council as specified in the chat by Naomi Hammonds?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a
Can you say
second?
the full thing? I'm so
Oh,
sorry. We need
yes.
that.
Yeah, motion to allocate 28,085,65 to management council from reserve funds.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Those in favor of passing this motion, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Please lower your hands. All right, those against, please indicate likewise by raising your hand. Okay, thank you. And then those that wish to abstain, please raise your hand. With that, I believe the motion passes. So management, those funds shall be allocated accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Did-
you.
Yeah, no, well, thank you for your words. I appreciate it. All right, so we will go ahead and move on. That does conclude all our current material for the agenda. So we would just need a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, motion and seconded. Those in favor of adjourning? Okay, thank you. Those, please lower your hands. And then those against, please raise your hand. Okay, and then those that wish to abstain, please raise your hand. Okay, with that, the motion passes and the meeting is adjourned. Many thanks again for all your help. Thank you for your patience in this fully online format. I hope that it was not too technically difficult. And lastly, for the good and welfare section, just wanted to wish our VP of Academic Affairs, Satara, a happy birthday today. And thank you all for attending. I will see you soon.